Welcome to This Week in Washington for December the 16th, 2011. Last week I told you we would be watching for a possible transit-related bill to emerge in the Senate Banking Committee this week that would provide us with an outline of the Senate's thinking on what transit funding and programs would look like in the next reauthorization bill. That legislation has not emerged, and at this stage it appears that Congress will finish its business for the year without completing work on any transit reauthorization, or in this case, the Banking Committee even submitting an outline or a portion of the bill dealing with the transit program. There are many causes for this. As you know, this has been an extremely difficult political year, and Congress has followed a very rigid time schedule on this year's session. In addition to that, the last several days have seen a huge struggle over the omnibus bill to carry on the government's work through the end of the fiscal year, which started in October, as well as the political issues concerning the continuation of the tax cut on the payroll taxes that almost all Americans pay. Congress, having now pretty much finished those issues, is planning to adjourn. Their session in January is also supposed to be extremely limited. So we're going to have to wait and see if we actually get any additional progress on our major transit reauthorization concerns between now and the next election. Since next year is an election year, as I've said before, I suspect that this will be very, very difficult. We did have one piece of really good news yesterday. Senator Brown from Ohio introduced Senate Bill 1992. Senate Bill 1992 is the Senate companion version of the Carnahan bill in the House of Representatives that would allow transit systems of all sizes greater flexibility in using their funds to meet important operating issues due to the financial crisis. I want to thank Senator Brown for putting forward this legislation, and I certainly want to thank Scott Bogren and our friends in labor and the other supporters we have in working with Senator Brown to make this happen. This is very good news for us, and this gives us some hope that our concerns, since they're now represented in both the Carnahan bill and in the Brown bill, will be acceptable should we ever get to a reauthorization. I also would like to point out that this week saw the first of a number of new waivers being granted to states in the Medicaid program. And I did communicate one of the copies of information related to this waiver in Texas. But what the waivers do is provide the states with greater flexibility in paying for their Medicaid programs if they move to managed care. In the case of the transportation component, this could well be very good news, since the outcomes for determining whether or not the care being provided to Medicaid recipients is successful is in some part dependent upon providing non-emergency transportation. We're going to continue to look at this throughout the early part of next year and see how best we can position transportation as we would prefer to have it done as part of that outcome. Speaking of transportation in the healthcare field, a new article on coordination and dialysis should be emerging next week before the holidays that reflects the very good article we did on dialysis transportation that you saw in Community Transportation Magazine last week. I continue to get comments about how important that issue is, but how much people enjoyed the coverage. And I'm hopeful that this extended version, adding in some other specific technical pieces that will be emerging, will also be useful and helpful to our members, as well as our efforts to educate Congress and otherwise of the important role community and public transit play in making this life-sustaining service possible. Yesterday was a technical meeting hosted in part by our association for the Veterans Projects on the FTA Veterans Program. Larry Harmon, who many of you know, has been working with the NRC on coordinating some of these projects, and he was here. And having Larry around is always an enjoyable experience. One of Larry's goals as providing technical assistance in this important arena is to try to make the communication systems, the data systems, the whole nature and structure of one-call facilities the most off-the-shelf, simplest, and replicable kinds of approaches. And I am looking forward to how these projects might help smaller organizations in the future develop lower-cost technology solutions. That's pretty much all I have for you today. I'm hopeful that I will communicate with you sometime early next week as a follow-up in case anything emerges in the last 2 days or over the weekend on what Congress might do. In the meantime, I hope you're having a good time preparing for the upcoming holidays. We plan to be closed in the week between Christmas and New Year's, and as I said, Congress and a significant portion of the administration will be gone during that period as well. So if you have any other questions or concerns, please feel free to let me know, and I will try to communicate with you again before the break. Thanks, have a nice weekend, and as soon as something else develops, we'll be in touch. Bye for now.